Last summer, Dr. King and I joined Grandview C4 as the Assistant Superintendent and Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Together, we have marked upon a year of learning. We said many times we would just live it for the first year so we could better understand all the great work that has been done before us. We wanted to see the big picture and capitalize on the greatness we found. We observed teachers and coaches at curriculum writing sessions held last summer. We listened to the pride in the work and they had done and were doing. The teachers clearly loved their students. But we also recognized fatigue and frustration, and many teachers articulated a concern that the work they were doing would not be understood or appreciated when it was rolled out to their colleagues in August. Not all core subjects were in attendance from kindergarten through 12th grade, nor were curriculum maps created for all core subjects in all grades. The majority of the work time was spent writing common assessments and short-term benchmark formative assessments that would serve as place markers in the creation of units of instruction. Most energy every summer, they explained, was spent in those powering standards, writing and rewriting common unit assessments and benchmarks, and creating curricular documents for which most teachers could not explain the practical use. As the school year began, district diagnostic baseline data came in, and the teachers and instructional coaches were working very hard to get their students engaged in learning. And while the state summative assessment achievement data was not released, historical data was on a steady decline for the 3 prior years. There was no traction for their effort. Teachers, coaches, and principals used words like defeated and exhausted when reviewing the needs of students. They felt their unit assessments, that are currently the only way to measure student progress towards mastery of power standards, were not given a similar message to the MAP data, and even said that the iReady diagnostic data was not a true reflection of students' abilities, based upon the fact that students performed well on the common unit assessments and the benchmark assessments. We had to figure out this disconnect. We had to get traction for their tires to stop spinning in frustration and fatigue. The disconnect lay in the curriculum work itself. From the creation of the district curriculum website last summer, where all the curriculum work was then posted publicly for the entire district to see and use, it became clear that there were gaps in the work. Not all grades had curriculum in all subjects, and not all curriculum work was standardized in use and utility. A great path had been laid in the years prior, which was fantastic, but it was time to pave that path and make a smooth and integrated system for the district's curriculum. We decided to begin with math, based on the state and district data points, all indicating that our students were scoring well below nationally normed peer levels of achievement. All kindergarten through 12th grade department chairs, instructional coaches, and building principals, approximately 50 of us in all, embarked upon a journey together to create an integrated system. It will be a multi-year process in 3 to 5 year cycles that builds upon the already strong work our district has been doing, unpacking the MLS standards since 2016. We began by establishing a common philosophy and vocabulary. We called ourselves the RCD group, the Rigorous Curriculum Design Group, and based all of our initial learning and conversations in the work of Larry Ainsworth. We began meeting immediately after winter break on January 2nd. We ensured that we all meant the same thing when we spoke about rigor, curricular design sequence, priority and supporting standards, units of study, pacing calendars, and unit organizers or unit maps, to name just a few. Togetherly, we agreed upon their definitions. We set goals for ourselves for the next year, knowing that this would be a process of dedication to honing both the science and the art of our craft. Reinforcing Ainsworth's work, we built upon the strong work that had been done over the last few years by identifying where our curricular foundations were already strong. We already had identified power standards, assured competencies, and had identified pre and post unit assessments that we used to diagnose and use for differentiating instruction. Again, the frustration was that the unit-based assessments that populated the students' progress reports seemed to demonstrate student mastery of standards, which created a disconnect from the state and nationally normed diagnostic and summative assessments that told a different narrative of our students' understanding about and application of grade-level standards. We needed more than a path. We needed a road that led us to where we wanted to go. So together, we chose to focus on one big idea: teacher clarity. We started with the priority standards. First, we needed a strong foundation. In every grade from kindergarten through Algebra 2 as a team, we reviewed the district-wide teacher consensus voting on what the standards they believe should be important to consider as priority standards. Almost every grade did not have identified more than 1 to maybe 5 priority standards from the consensus voting. so we knew we better get researching. We read every single math standard, unpacked them with the DESI item specifications and expanded math standard descriptions. We also located every standard as found in the performance level descriptors. Then we compared the weight of that high-stakes assessments like MAP, EOC, and ACT put on the standards by reviewing the practice tests and testing blueprints. From that work, we ensured that all selected priority standards met the real test: readiness, endurance, assessment, and leverage. We discovered that many of our old power standards were only meeting the below basic and basic performance level indicators. No wonder our students weren't performing well against state and national assessments. We weren't challenging them to show mastery of proficient and advanced expectations in many aspects. We were working so hard trying to master what were essentially supporting standards. Once each grade had drafted their priority standards, we built a kindergarten through 12th grade continuum to ensure that there was a solid pathway, a roadmap, if you will, that helped navigate students along as smoothly as possible in a cohesive way that had never been done before. Conversations among educators centered around what was the best way to prepare students for the next steps in their educational career. Once the road was paved, it was time to get moving. We got ready to design our units of study. The unit's structure was the chassis upon which we assembled our units of study. Whether to create topical, skills-based, or thematic units, we were excited about considering how to name these units, and according to purpose and dominant focus. The priority and supporting standards were then assigned to each unit of study. Essentially, they dropped in the engine that powered the unit vehicle. Priority standards were matched to each unit's main focus, and the supporting standards were aligned that connected to and enhanced each priority standard. Priority standards were then distributed across more than one unit of study as needed to experience transfer and/or extension. The conversations were about engaging teachers in something fun to teach and students fun to learn. Meaningful activities are the focus of the conversation as educators built the curriculum overviews. They were getting excited about building units. So where do we go from here? We still have a long way to go. We have a whole trip to plan, but once we have the vision set, we're ready to begin talking about resource adoption. This conversation hasn't happened since 2013, and the educators were thrilled. We narrowed down a K-5 resource, Eureka Math, and a 612 Math resource, Illustrative Math. Training has already begun and will continue. Don't forget to check our Grandview C4curriculum.net curriculum website on the Professional Development tab to find the link to view our K-12 Math and K-12 ELA priority standards for 2019 through 2024. All of our standards, kindergarten through 12th grade, are listed. The priority standards are marked in blue font color. We are thrilled that this journey has begun, and we cannot wait until this summer when we begin working on the unit maps. The unified format and systematic plan will support teachers because the priority standards are now horizontally and vertically aligned, match the rigor and performance expectations of the high-stakes assessments, and begin to address many of the skills in the career pathways that our industries expect of our next generation. We are not plowing quickly through this work, but we all agree that by going slowly, we will be able to get traction and move students along so much faster. Getting there is going to be the most of the fun. The higher student achievement scores will just be the photo op on our journey.